Newspaper I'm looking at, Yuma Daily Sun, Saturday, March 20th, this particular day. Took a look at the newspaper and saw a headline, front page. GADSDEN Elementary recognized under remedial plan. Recognized, yeah, that's a real honor. San Luis, Arizona headline. GADSDEN Elementary School will get a new principal and be under state supervision in a remedial plan prompted by its ranking among underperforming schools for a third consecutive year. It will also make the school district eligible for federal funding of $500,000 to $2 million annually to raise student academic standards under the federal government's adequate yearly progress classification system. Blah, 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 blah. Money, money, money thrown at a losing cause. The problem, according to the superintendent, Mr. Aguilar, is probably a more correct pronunciation, is the number of students who are hardly learning English. Superintendent Ray Aguilera said we have more than 50% in that category. But it doesn't just happen there. It occurs in many schools on the border. The situation is not so serious that parents are considering taking their children out of the schools. And I don't know who the article was written by. It doesn't really matter. But I'm looking back just to see Cesar Nayoy. He obviously did a little work. Didn't just stop there. He said the lone vote against the remedial plan was cast by board member Tadeo de la Hoya. Don't know the gentleman. Think he's a good guy. He objected to removing Carmel Ann Berry as principal and reassigning her as a teacher. Well, I do too. Before I quit, and I quit 5 or 6 years ago, before I quit subbing in elementary schools, I subbed in Mrs. Berry's classroom when she was a classroom teacher, I don't know, 3 or 4 times over a couple of years. Excellent classroom teacher. Students right on top of things, and very evident that they had an excellent teacher. Nobody knows quicker what kind of a classroom teacher a teacher is than a person that subs in that classroom that knows what's going on in education. De La Hoya said that the root of the problem is not lack of English proficiency among students, but neglect of the school by the district's administration. Skipping now, another paragraph. De La Hoya said that since joining the school board about a year ago, he has become increasingly aware of what he called inattention to the GADSDEN school. Lack of attention has been a recurring complaint, and he's heard it from the school's teachers. How is it possible that the school has been underperforming, that this was allowed to grow? He rejected the argument that the school's problems stem from the high number of its students who have yet to master English. Well, maybe he's just a maverick on the school board, but maybe he's on to something. Particularly if a school district gets a whole lot of money, and I see at the very end of the article, let's see, I'll read a couple of paragraphs at the end. Aguilera said, that's Superintendent Aguilera, the school's underperforming status is not cause for alarm, noting that San Luis Middle School was once similarly graded before improvements brought it up to the right level of student achievement. He says the administration has been closely following student achievement at GADSDEN Elementary. I'm not satisfied, he said. We can do better, and we're focusing on that more each year. 6 of the district's 7 other schools are not meeting standards, although none has failed to do so for 3 consecutive years. Only Ed Pastor Elementary School is meeting the standards. Aguilar said the district's other underperforming schools will receive some of the federal remedial funds, although the money will be distributed on a priority basis. Well, now, isn't that interesting? That school's got the problem. That school's the one that's we're getting the funds for, but it sounds like maybe there's there's a little possibility that by letting a school get into that category and get hold of that much more money might help in this day and age when school districts all across America are hurting. States are hurting. Then they have to cut back on funds that go to schools. A little federal money might help keep the level of education up. I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying it's bad. But I am saying that Carmel Ann Berry's a fine, fine teacher, and I'm sure she was a fine, fine principal. I hope she doesn't get mad and quit, because we need her still teaching. God bless her.